Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is Daily Drop number 410. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the program, and greetings from Sin City. We've been talking about the unsealed documents for the past couple of days, and we're going to stay on that path tonight. We're going to jump right into our article tonight. And the article we're going to discuss is from Reuters. And it's about Ghislaine Maxwell and her epic BS denial of Jeffrey Epstein's activities. So in the deposition, how, she talked about how, she had no knowledge of Jeffrey Epstein's behavior. And she had to wait until she saw it in the news like everybody else. Well, you know how the Washington Post likes to give out Pinocchios? Well, here on the program, I give out chicken parmesans for the biggest lies, right? And Ghislaine Maxwell and this BS of her denying the scope of Jeffrey Epstein's sexual activities, well, that most certainly deserves 5 chicken parms. Because, folks, that is a whopper of a lie. Can you imagine this lady having the audacity to think pitching that line is going to work? Oh, yeah, I had no idea what Jeffrey Epstein was up to. I was just in charge of all sorts of crazy shit. I mean, really? On what planet did this lady think that this was going to work? Really, what she must have been thinking is that none of this is ever going to come to light, that she's never going to get in trouble for this criminally because of the non-prosecution agreement, and at worst, it's going to cost her a few bones on the side, a few bucks. That's what they were thinking. None of them ever thought that these chickens were going to come home to roost. They thought that they effectively had ended this. Jeffrey Epstein's payouts, him going to jail, the non-prosecution agreement, all of these people went about their lives, lived their merry little lives, didn't they? You had Vickers running off with a NASCAR driver. You had Leslie Groff doing her thing. Oh, the core 4, they were living it up, right? They were definitely living it up. Nadia Marcinkova, flying all over the place, Adriana Ross, all of these people living this great life. When in reality, they shouldn't have been comfortable. They shouldn't have had the idea in their head that they were going to get away with this. Because stuff like this doesn't just go away. There was way too much documentation out there. There was way too much information out there, circumstantial evidence, but way too much of it out there for there not to be anything here. And the fact that the Miami Herald picked up the ball and it advanced it, and then everybody else got involved and started digging deeper and going into different rabbit holes and finding different threads to pull on, well, you see where we're at now, and you see how many different layers there are to this, and obviously it's not a, I'm doing air quotes here, folks, conspiracy theory. If that was the case, would Leon Black be stepping down? Would Glenn Dubin have stepped down? Would Les Wexner have stepped down? Would Andrew be running and hiding behind mummy skirts? Would the courts be sending out subpoenas? Would Maxwell be in jail? Would Brunel be in jail if this was a conspiracy theory? This isn't a conspiracy theory. Oh, it's a conspiracy, all right. A conspiracy to traffic human beings. A conspiracy to engage in a criminal enterprise. But a conspiracy theory? Save that shit for the Chupacabra message board, folks. Because this was a cover-up. And now all of that's coming to light. All of that is starting to blossom. You know when you pour a little bit of water on a chia pet and then it starts to grow I guess that's hair or fur or whatever the hell it is. Anyway, that's what's going on here. A little bit of water was poured on it. Then, you had a couple of little tufts of hair grow. And then before you know it, you had a full blooming chia pet, folks. And that's what's going on here. That's where this story is at. There is still so much coming out that we have speculated on. But when you have these dumps like we're getting and these unsealed documents coming to light, what it does is it provides receipts and it provides a blueprint for you to navigate the case better. When you can skip going to what a reporter has to say and read the documentation for yourself, well, it's more impactful in my opinion. And that's what we're seeing here. I know personally I've had a lot of people reach out to me who have not really been interested in this story previously, who now are really interested in this story. And I think that that bodes well for justice coming down the pipe eventually. And certainly should have the co-conspirators and Maxwell and anybody else who's caught up in this very, very afraid. Because there was already a public outcry. And now, forget it. It is growing. The chorus is growing. And it's only going to get louder as more and more comes to light and as more people are put on blast. So, like I was talking about earlier, I really hope that there aren't any redactions, as little as possible, I guess I should say, moving forward. It's not being... we're being naive if we think that there aren't going to be redactions. What I would hope, though, is that people who are named as people who have been involved in the enterprise, I hope that their names are not redacted. If Trump, Clinton, Dubin, any of these people who have been named in court documents or any of it, I hope that their names are not redacted. And the only names that are redacted are for privacy reasons for the survivors. Because there are too many people who have gotten away with their behavior for way too long. And that is coming to a screeching halt in the year 2021, folks, because the train of justice has already left the station in this case. There's no putting the toothpaste back in the tube. That's it. The train has left the station, it's barreling down the tracks, and all of these people, co-conspirators and otherwise, are directly in its path. All right, let's check out our article tonight. And this article is from Reuters, and the headline is, Ghislaine Maxwell denies knowing scope of Jeffrey Epstein's sexual activities. Oh, well. You don't say. You mean the lady that set up his tryst, his abuse of these girls, has no idea, huh? The lady that bought all kinds of wacky-ass books on Amazon about BDSM and whatnot has no idea, huh? The lady that laid out all the sex toys has no idea, huh? That's what you want us to believe, Ghislaine. What she thought was that Jeffrey Epstein was going to corroborate her statements. She thought that he was going to go on wax and say, hey, look, nope, we didn't do any of this, blah, 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 blah. But he knew that he would incriminate himself, so he pled the fifth. And he left old Ghislaine Serpentino herself holding the bag. This article was authored by Jonathan Stemple. Ghislaine Maxwell, the longtime associate, co-conspirator, fellow child abuser, general all-around scuzzbag and bipedal serpent, associate of Jeffrey Epstein, testified she never saw him receiving massages from anyone other than herself at his home in New York, where prosecutors are pursuing criminal charges that she helped the late financier, pedophile, procure underage girls for sex. Boy, if that doesn't deserve 5 chicken parms, I have no idea what does. Can you wrap your head around that statement, folks? Because I certainly cannot. Ghislaine Maxwell testified under oath, okay? She testified under oath that she never saw him receive massages from anyone other than herself at his home in New York. I mean, are you kidding me right now? She went on under oath and said that when it's demonstrably false. There are how many people who have come forward and talked about the massages. Even old Mr. I Kept My Undies On, Alan Dershowitz, said he got a massage there. So what is she even talking about? Maxwell also repeatedly insisted she was unaware about the scope of Epstein's sexual activities during her years with him, saying she learned about it like everybody else, like the rest of the world, when it was announced in the papers. So again, she wants us to believe, okay, that she had no idea what Jeffrey Epstein was about. She had no idea that he was abusing young girls. She thought that the 14-year-old girls coming in from over at the Palm Beach high schools, she thought that was perfectly normal. And her saying that she was going to go troll Central Park for nubiles was absolutely normal. Just that's the behavior that they were involved in, you know? She had no idea what Jeffrey Epstein was up to. What an absolute load of BS. I mean, is anyone buying this? Like, are the 4 people who are supporting Ghislaine Maxwell even buying this at this point? Borgerson must be hanging his head and putting his face in his hands as he shakes his head, muttering like a drunken madman. Nobody believes this shit. I mean, come on. How could you possibly believe this? The only way you could believe this is if you're suffering from cognitive dissonance. That's the only way. The denials came in a July 2016 deposition that Maxwell, 59, gave in a long-settled civil defamation lawsuit against her by Virginia Roberts, one of dozens of women who have accused Epstein of sexual misconduct. And now remember, these are all of the documents that were sealed previously. And Judge Preska decided that these documents should be shown the light of day. So she decided that they would be unsealed. They went through an appeal. And now we're at the point where they're being unsealed. And that 2016 deposition and the Jeffrey Epstein deposition, when you run them up together and you run them side by side and see what they were talking about, I can't stress it enough how much he left her on the vine. And it just goes to show you once again that Jeffrey Epstein didn't care one lick about this lady. They were partners, but not partners in the carnal sense. Sure, did they gratify each other every now and then? I don't know, maybe, right? They could have. Who the hell knows what sort of weird shit these people are into? Maybe they both got into the bathtub and you know, did whatever they wanted to do in there with a bath full of fake blood or whatever. Honestly, who the hell knows what these people do? Right? But I do know one thing. They certainly weren't in love. This wasn't some case of boy meets girl, boy and girl fall in love, they run away happily ever after. That wasn't what happened here. According to reports, Epstein was introduced to Ghislaine Maxwell by her dad. Her dad's setting that shit up because he knows the deal. And then off we go. They build this whole entire image of that they're supposedly partners as far as intimate partners. That's part of their cover story so that they're welcomed into so-called polite society. You know, a lot easier when you show up with a date, right? You're not some 55-year-old weirdo running around who's single with no kids. That shit's looked down upon in a lot of circles. So it was the perfect cover for them. But as far as them being in love, boy, I highly doubt that. More than 100 documents from that lawsuit were made public late on Wednesday night in the U.S. District Court in Manhattan. So when they first came out, I was asleep, honestly. I woke up to a bunch of messages that they were released. So I started digging into them right when I first woke up, you know, a cursory glance. And I'm still going through them. There's a lot going on. So I'm going through them still as we speak. But the thing that really stands out to me the most is how Epstein left her twisting in the wind, man. It is the perfect move for a scumbag like him. I expected nothing less. It's just like Whitey Bulger, right? The whole entire time he's running around as an informant for the FBI, he's still committing crimes, killing people, murdering people, robbing people, extorting people, and the FBI damn well knew what was going on, but they don't care. He's helping them turn convictions. And what do we always say here, folks? If the means justifies the end, that's all they care about. Lawyers for Maxwell did not immediately respond on Thursday to requests for comment. Maxwell gave the deposition after Roberts' lawyers deemed the co-conspirator uncooperative in earlier testimony, where she rejected suggestions she saw Epstein have sex with girls or helped arrange illegal sexual encounters. You know, it's funny that she could even deny that. How many of these people below her are cooperating with the government right now that we don't even know about? Well, we know David Rogers, the pilot's cooperating. We know that Adam Perry Lang is singing like a songbird. But how many of the co-conspirators are cooperating? We don't know. What do they have on Ghislaine? Are they saying, well, she lied here. We saw her with the massages. Quite possibly. Because we know they were all aware of what was going on. We know that Sarah Kellen Vickers was taking orders directly from Ghislaine Maxwell. So how many people have turned state's evidence on Ghislaine Maxwell? And how many people are going to testify that what she said here was an absolute lie? My guess is a lot of them, folks. In response to questions from Robert's lawyer, David Boies, Maxwell said she had seen people give Epstein massages at his home in Palm Beach, Florida, and the U.S. Virgin Island. She said she believed all were professional masseuses and that Epstein never had clothes on when being massaged. Professional masseuses, huh? Is that why you recruited a young Virginia Roberts inside of a Mar-a-Lago changing room? Yeah, because she's a professional masseuse, right? A little young girl is a professional masseuse. If you wanted a professional masseuse, here's an idea. Go and get one. That wasn't what you were looking for. You were looking for young girls from broken homes that you could abuse and exploit and groom and turn into exactly what you and your sick buddy wanted them to be. All right? That's what it is. Let's just quit cutting corners here. Let's just call them for what they are. Maxwell said it had been a very long time since she had communicated with Epstein. BS. I ceased to be happy in the job, and I ceased to be happy spending time with Mr. Epstein, Maxwell said. So let me interpret. We decided that it would be best if we cut off ties and didn't really hang out with each other because we didn't want to be seen as co-conspirators. We know that we slipped by the skin of our teeth with that non-prosecution agreement, so why push our luck? We'll just keep our friendship behind closed doors. Meanwhile, Ghislaine Maxwell was still hanging out with Jeff Bezos, going to the Vanity Fair parties, you name it, she was there. Epstein had become more difficult to work with, she added. In a previously released email from January 2015, Epstein told Maxwell, "You have done nothing wrong, and I would urge you to start acting like it." So that email right there just blows up another part of her testimony. We talked about this earlier as well, saying that she hadn't talked to him in years. But meanwhile, we have the email from 2015, so you at least talked to him within the year. And if it was that one email, how many more were there? So please, nobody's buying it, Ghislaine. Portions of Maxwell's testimony were redacted after U.S. District Judge Loretta Preska said the more prurient details about Maxwell's sex life could be kept secret. Now, earlier I said that I kind of understand that, and I do understand it, but man, I wish they would make an exemption in this case and just release it all. No redactions whatsoever. I think that should be the penalty for all the people involved after trying to cover this up for so long. There has to be some kind of penalty, and if you were involved, well, sorry. No redactions. Time to be put on blast. The redactions included 20 lines of testimony that Maxwell's lawyers have said are the basis for a perjury charge in her criminal case, and which, if disclosed, could undermine her constitutional right to a fair trial. Roberts wants that testimony made public. Preska, who delayed its release after Maxwell's lawyers objected, has yet to rule. Well, I think that with Virginia on board, and it's, she was the one who brought this case, I think that they should let it go through and it should be unredacted, all of it. Especially if Virginia gives the nod and she's comfortable with that. At the end of the day, this is about them, the survivors, right? All of these girls. So if they want this to be unredacted and they want it to be out there in the public sphere, then I say it should be. Maxwell has pleaded not guilty to helping Epstein recruit and groom 3 underage girls for sex in the mid-1990s and lying about her involvement under oath. Her trial is scheduled for July 12th. Earlier this week, Maxwell asked the judge in the criminal case to dismiss the indictment on several grounds, including that she was shielded by Epstein's 2007 non-prosecution agreement. So we know that that's a big ask from Ghislaine Maxwell. We know that chances are it's going to fall on deaf ears. And we know that her lawyers are doing everything in their power to try and find a loophole here. That's what they've been doing from the jump, and that's what they're going to continue to do. Because like I've said a million times, you can't defend the indefensible. Epstein pleaded guilty in 2008 to Florida state prostitution charges, agreeing to register as a sex offender and accept a 13-month jail sentence. That punishment is now widely regarded as too lenient. Now widely regarded? How about it's always been widely regarded as too lenient? The only people who were happy about it were Jeffrey Epstein, Alan Dershowitz, and the state's prosecutor office in Florida. They're the only ones that were that knew it wasn't shitty, or they knew it was shitty, but they were okay with it. Everybody else who took a sniff of it knew it stunk, but yet it was allowed to go through. What a sad-ass state our Department of Justice is in. What a sad-ass state the court system is in. Epstein pleaded guilty in 2008. We passed that. Other materials released on Wednesday included documents referring to Alan I kept my underpants on Dershowitz, the Harvard Law School professor who Roberts has said Epstein forced her to have sex with. Dershowitz, the crypt keeper, has denied her claims, and he and Roberts have been suing each other for defamation. So Alan Dershowitz will always try and maneuver things and act like he wants things to be the way they are, right? He's looking at optics. He's looking at everything. For all of his faults, the man's smart, he's shrewd, and he understands how to play the legal game. And he understands that optics are important. So him saying, yeah, I want my name to be out in this. Yeah, I have nothing to hide. Well, all right, we'll see. As the cards start to fall, Mr. Dershowitz, and I don't think you're going to be able to wait out the clock on this one, pal. It's going to be time to pony up eventually, and so far, you haven't shown up with any receipts, and you haven't shown up with any sort of evidence. Maxwell is being held at a federal jail in Brooklyn and has been denied bail twice following her arrest last July. Epstein, 66, killed himself in a Manhattan jail, allegedly, in August 2019 while awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges. So there you have it, folks. According to Ghislaine Maxwell, she had no idea the scope of Jeffrey Epstein's behavior, and in fact, she had to see it on TV like everybody else. Well, I'm here to tell you that the Jeffrey Epstein show gives that 5 chicken parms. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at Bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. All of the links that go with this episode can be found in the description box. And folks, make sure you're subscribed to whatever your favorite podcast hosting supplier is. All right, everybody, I will be back tomorrow, and we will pick up where we left off. Have a great night, everyone.